Next we're going to hear from Claire Lindsay, as Hugh has already said, from Thoughtistic, who advocate for autism and neurodivergent inclusion, particularly in relation to public transport. And I too would just like to commend Claire and all her colleagues for the amazing work they do in partnership with TfL and the real positive impact they've had on our public transport system. Claire.
Good morning. I feel privileged to be invited to speak alongside such key players, so thanks guys. I am Claire Lindsay from Thoughtistic. We work with people on the neurodiverse spectrum in London and advise organisations like Transport for London around accessibility. As far as I am concerned, the Elizabeth line with Transport for London have set the standards for engagement and accessible travel. And here's a few words from my personal perspective and why. I have autism, and many typically accessible places are inaccessible to me and others on the neurodiverse spectrum. The barriers that we face are not always visible or understood, and often transport can be overwhelming. Sensory and physical barriers such as harsh lighting, unclear wayfinding, loud noises and visual noise can prevent some neurodiverse people from using public transport. When I first heard about the Elizabeth line being built, I automatically thought that the neurodiverse community might not be able to access one of the new stations, let alone travel on the line. I got involved with stakeholder events and meetings, passing on comments and suggestions from groups and visiting the stations before opening to view new accessibility features. After speaking with Transport for London and the Elizabeth line, I started to realise that we were being listened to, things were changing, everyone's accessibility was being thought about, and most importantly, this included neurodiverse passengers. The Elizabeth line stations are calmer and easier to move around in. The sound absorption qualities of the track and the building materials means that sound levels are much lower and easier to cope with. The platform edge doors create a feeling of safety as well as cutting down on the movement of air and sound. The uncluttered environment and clean lines create a calmer environment and atmosphere that makes it easier to focus on important information and on-board announcements. And visual displays help improve accessibility for everyone, especially those on the spectrum. For me, travelling on the Elizabeth line is like sensory heaven. On the opening day, it was exciting to see so many neurodiverse passengers, including YouTubers, who shared the event online, encouraging many more neurodiverse individuals to use the line. The Elizabeth line has made a massive impact on the accessibility for the neurodiverse population by opening up the centre of London to a new group of passengers who may not have been able to use other forms of transport due to sensory and physical barriers. The Elizabeth line is on the right track for accessibility. I used to have a saying that when you never remember a good journey, you only remember the ones that went wrong. Well, I can't use that saying anymore because you will always remember a trip on the Elizabeth line because of how good it is. I hope more transport providers work with people on the neurodiverse spectrum to make public transport accessible for everyone.
Thank you, Claire, and again, personal thank you from me, because having gone out on the network with you, knowing how challenging it is a real eye-opener, and we're committed at TfL to see what we can do to improve the existing network as well.